Welcome back to the Unacceptable News. I'm your host, Justin Bush. There is nothing for you here. Get out now. Anyway, tonight's story is very short. It's very sweet. It is about the Nazca Mummies. We can't stop talking about it because they just keep releasing more information. So, this is actually a fantastic piece of information. So Ryan Graves, one of the pilots that did the UFO hearing on Capitol Hill with David Fraser as well as David Grush, they brought this information to Congress about these unknown objects and non-human biologics and all these things. Now, Ryan Graves was doing some international kind of agreement. He's trying to push this program for pilots, right? So commercial and military pilots. He essentially wants it in law, like he just tweeted recently. He's trying to get it to attach to this other UAP amendment bill. Like they tried to pass the UFO bill for declassifying information. It failed. They amended it. They've put it back up. He wants it to be in this bill, right? So he essentially tweeted something about it, like, we need this Air Safety Act or whatever. So when he was doing this kind of international communication about these strange UFOs and things, he actually had a sit-down meeting with Jaime Maussan. So Jaime Maussan has brought us Nuevo, which is essentially just a show completely about UFOs. Viewer-submitted videos of these strange phenomena, strange objects, and he went to a meeting with Ryan Graves, and it was captured on film. A geneticist, or I believe he might have been a biologist, but was with Jaime Maussan, and they had got results back from some of the mummified remains of the Nazca mummies. In this video, Jaime Maussan is telling Ryan Graves, like, hey, this is a big deal. This is non-human biologics, right? The same thing that David Grush said. Like, we know these are non-human. He talks about them being entered into the National Institute for Health's genetic database. He talks about their preliminary DNA results. And also the fact that other laboratories were going to bring out results soon. So the Canadian laboratory has done a multi-year study on the DNA, and they are going to come out with that information soon, supposedly. But their initial results from the DNA shows that one of the creatures, the small creatures, only has 20% similar DNA, but nothing compared to anything else. And so he admits in this video that the smaller creatures have 20% the same DNA as beans, like beans, like it's sharing DNA with beans, the same way you and I share 50% DNA with a banana. In fact, Ryan Graves talks about that in this discussion, right? The other thing they talk about is the fact that the the humanoid creatures that are non-human, they only share 30% DNA with humans. So let me just show you that real quick, show you that video, and you can take a look.
The thing is, David Grush said the biological remains in the hands of the Pentagon. We found these remains in Peru in 2017. They've been investigated since then, and now we have the DNA. And the specialist from the Navy that is coming, he's the head of the scientific department of the Navy. He's the top scientist of the Navy. He investigated. He was also the forensic expert for the Navy for many years now. He's not, but he's above that. He's the one who's going to talk about these creatures that were alive 1,000 years ago. These were not from a crash. They live with people, and they were buried in a sacred place in Peru. And then we finally, the DNA is up in the cloud, in the internet. Any scientific organization will be able to investigate.
That's all you can do, right?
Yes, it's all you can do. And present them, and it's physical evidence. whoever that said that is not true, they are right there, prove it, right? It's a good. This is a chance to do this. You know what I mean? And it's going to be very powerful.
How do people access the data, the sequence? Is it something that anyone could access, or someone?
Well, no, anybody. But if you're not a scientist, sure. It doesn't just numbers. Yes, but there are people in the University of Texas investigating this. Martin, the man who was there, he can tell you. He can tell you about it. And they are very impressed so far. And we didn't say everything we have, because there is another creature that was found there, which is a 30% human. It means it's a hybrid. But I didn't have the courage to present that today. It was too much. Too much. This is going to be a little bit too much. But the other would be...
Are these ones related to the ones in the past that have been investigated with Gary Nolan?
No, I don't think Gary Nolan has investigated. No, that's an Atacama thing.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
No. These are... They look ETs. They look ETs.
60 centimeters. 60 centimeters.
60 centimeters. It is like what? 20 inches? Something like that? And the DNA proved, they compared that to 1 million species on Earth, and they couldn't find one. They are going to say that the evolution, there is nothing before them in the evolution, and there is nothing after. It means they came and they left.
Humans share about 50% of their DNA with the banana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
So if these are sharing 30% human DNA, that would be a
not this one. No, these, nothing. They just share some DNA with beans, right?
Like beans?
Like beans.
Like the
frijoles, yeah. 20%.
Yeah.
That's all they could find. One of the men who was coming with us, he's a genetic expert, and he's going to say everything about that.
Very good. Very good.
Digo que la prueba está en la nube, ¿no?
Ya started.
Sí.
All the genetic of the ADN is in the NCDE, the most important genetic page in the United States.
I'm not sure what you said there.
I showed you.
Yeah.
¿Y las demás personas?
¿Perdón?
¿Las llevaron a otra parte o?
Están allí afuera ya.
¿Por qué no entraron?
La señorita Feroja se les pidió Sánchez.
Porque esto es una parte privada para ustedes.
Excuse me.
Pues ahora sí que se quedan, nos quedan por eso.
This is the page.
Necesarios.
This? National Institute now.
Yes. In the page is like human beings because don't have another side. And this is the and it's public now. All in NCVE.
What's a positive outcome from communicating this to the legislature? What are you hoping to educate them on?
The congressman went to see them,
Yeah.
and he's excited.
You can take it with your phone. All the information is inside in this book.
Okay, so now you've seen that kind of back and forth with Ryan Graves. Now this was taken, I believe, several years ago. The reason it's important, the reason I bring it up, I just did a video about the Nazca Mummies recently because they released a double-blind, peer-reviewed scientific study of the mummy known as Maria. All right, so show you a picture of Maria. During this study, they openly admit that this is a humanoid non-human. So they literally use the language non-human species. So they are distinguishing this creature. It is not a human being. It is humanoid. It has some of the characteristics of a human, but it would be classified as a non-human species. And this DNA that they're talking about with Ryan Graves is basically stating the same thing, that not only do you have a 30% increase in the cranial capacity, so the brain size, but you also have the DNA showing only 30% of the creature's DNA matches the human genome, which means that it would be further from you to a banana than you to it. So essentially, you're more closely related to a banana than you would be this creature. And by putting these DNA results in the National Institute of Health's DNA database, it gives access to scientists all over the world to analyze the DNA and look for matches or close matches or relatives. But because it's so different and they weren't able to find any relatives or matches in this international genetics database, they essentially have to characterize them as an unknown. So these are unknown organisms now that science has not yet accepted as legitimate living creatures, and which is why we see this big push from all these different countries to actually take a look at them now. We have people coming from Texas, from France, from Mexico, from Peru, now studying these creatures in all their minute detail to try to get to the bottom of where does this species come from. In that video I showed you, Jaime Maussan talks about, well, we have nothing in the fossil record before them, we have nothing in the fossil record after. They just disappear. So how did they come into existence? And he alleges, well, they may have come here, stayed here for a while, and then left, which is literally one of the hallmarks of the Peruvian culture. They talk about this craft coming down with 170 creatures that live amongst them for a period of years and then eventually leaves. So it kind of matches with some of the cultural heritage of Peru. Now, whether or not they're from another place is irrelevant right now. We're just in the preliminary stages of gathering the data and analyzing it. But I just thought this was a really interesting video. I thought that I should bring it to you and kind of get what you think about the situation. And that's really it. So do you think they're a hoax? Do you think these international committee of scientists are pulling our leg, or do you think that these are legitimate unknown humanoids? And that's the news. If you'd like to support our channel, go to the description or in the pinned comment down below. That's the unacceptable news. Don't like, don't subscribe, just run.